A man is sitting in a wheelchair, when suddenly he shouts at a young woman who is putting on makeup inside a car. "Hey, young man, you're the one putting on makeup." She looks scared at the wheelchair user and then gets scared by him shouting. The wheelchair user starts to lecture the woman. "Do you think I'm different from you? You are no better than me to be stopped in a handicapped spot." The woman is very scared, and does not know how to talk to the man who is outraged by the attitude of the driver of the vehicle. She really does not know how to behave in this situation and with great shame speaks to the wheelchair user. "Excuse me sir, my husband went to buy some medicine and is already coming back." At that moment the wheelchair user does not stop talking and tells them that they are very irresponsible to stop in a space for wheelchair users. The wheelchair user is very indignant with the situation and does not stop talking in the woman's head, until her husband arrives and apologizes too. He says that he will remove the vehicle for the wheelchair user to pass and asks for calm to the wheelchair user who continues to talk. At the moment the woman is saying goodbye to the boy, her husband does something absurd. He throws money at the wheelchair user, and seems to enjoy it. He really made fun of the wheelchair user and treated that situation as if it were nothing, an absolutely complicated situation and clueless. The wheelchair user is looking at him with a face of misunderstanding, and I cannot believe how someone can do that to another person. At this moment John's wife is extremely shocked by her husband's pathetic and ridiculous attitude and decides to tell him not to do that. She continues complimenting him by saying that he is wrong and shouldn't be doing that to a wheelchair user. John seems to have enjoyed what he has just done to the wheelchair user and keeps looking at him with a bad boy face. John then calls Selena to leave. She says goodbye to the wheelchair user and gets in the car with her husband. Just as they are leaving the place, the wheelchair user has an accident and falls to the ground. Selena is extremely shocked by the scene and asks her husband to stop the car urgently so she can help the wheelchair user who is on the ground. She gets out of the car quickly and goes to the boy who has just fallen on the ground. She then says that he doesn't need her help to get up. Selena then says that he doesn't need to be so bitter and can accept the help of an unknown person. She then starts to help the boy who mollifies his heart and allows to be helped by the woman who only wants to do the best for him. He then gets confused with the beautiful attitude of the woman, because it is not normal for someone to offer him help every day. She said that we should all help each other in this life. At this moment the boy is totally surprised with the woman's attitude and said that not everyone thinks like that. Selena then tells the boy that she is not everyone and she thinks differently than everyone else. At this moment her husband gets out of the car to annoy Selena and call her to leave quickly. He yells at her and tells her to get in the car and leave the filthy wheelchair user where he is. At this moment John gets extremely angry and tells Selena that he is ungrateful and should not be helped in any way. John says that he should have stayed on the ground because there is a place for garbage. John then takes Selena by the arm and drags her into the vehicle. Now they are leaving and the boy is extremely reflective. The other day, Fernando, who is in a wheelchair, is trying to get water from an establishment. He is having a hard time getting water and is surprised by a woman. To his surprise it is the same woman who helped him get off the ground when he had an accident. She then is surprised to see Fernando trying to get water and decides to help him. At the moment she hands him the water, she realizes that it is the boy she helped. She then asks the boy's name and says what he is doing there in the neighborhood. He answers that his name is Fernando and he is just there doing some shopping. Selena is extremely curious to know more about the boy and continues talking to him. He is a little suspicious of Selena's kindness, because he is not used to being treated this way on a daily basis. She then wants to make an appointment with the boy. He is a little confused and asks her what appointment. She says that they could go to a dinner party, to breakfast, or even go for a walk together. Fernando is extremely delighted with the woman and says that it is impossible to refuse her invitation with so many cool options. He then gives in to Selena's charms, and says that they can make a date, but he also asks what Selena's boyfriend will think all this. Selena tells him not to keep thinking about her boyfriend. She says that he will not even find out that she is going out with him. The other day, as agreed, Selena arrives at the establishment along with Fernando for lunch. They are very smiling and Fernando says that this is one of his favorite places. He thanks Selena for the surprise and continues to celebrate that moment so special for them. At this moment Selena is extremely delighted with Fernando, who doesn't even realize it. Fernando then says that he is still adapting to his new reality. Because he is in a wheelchair, things get harder for him. Selena says that she doesn't want to touch the subject, but since he has already spoken she will ask him a question about it, but she says that if he bothers she won't ask. He says that there is no problem and she can ask. She then asks how the boy ended up in that situation and what happened. Fernando says that he was walking through the streets of the city, when suddenly a drunk driver crossed the red light on his motorcycle. Selena is extremely shocked by what the boy has just told her, and asks if the boy has seen a doctor to know his condition. Fernando then answers Selena and says that the doctors told him to do physical therapy, but he said he has no patience for these things and it is better to accept the reality that is. Selena sees the sadness in Fernando's eyes and tells him that she will help him. At this moment Fernando gets stressed with Selena and says that they had better change the subject or he will lose his appetite. She then changes the subject and they start to eat and talk about other things. They seem to have lunch and laugh a lot as if they were a couple. They finish eating and say that the meeting was amazing and they will be able to repeat it more times. At the moment Selena leaves the place she goes towards her house, where her husband is waiting for her. Upon arriving at Selena's home, her husband is already waiting for her with his arms crossed to ask where she was. He angrily asks where Serena was all this time and with whom she was. She says she was having lunch with Fernando. At this moment Selena's husband asks who Fernando is, but he remembers and says that he is the world's wheelchair user. At this moment Serena gets extremely angry with the way the boy speaks and tells him not to call him that. John then tells Selena that he will not tolerate her going out to lunch with a half man. John then tells Selena that he will not tolerate her going out to lunch with a half man. She gets stressed again and tells the boy to shut up. The boy continues to argue with Selena and says that he will not accept being betrayed by a wheelchair user. Selena comes to his defense and says that he is a wheelchair user with a huge heart bigger than her husband. The boy then feels offended and begins to insult Selena, who loses her patience and tells him to get out of her life. She says that the worst thing in life was having met this idiot boy. She never imagined that he would bring her so many nightmares. The boy even turns to Selena and says that not even a jaguar will chase him, and tells the woman never to look for him again. He says that he wishes Selena luck because all the girls in town are looking for him and he won't have problems with girls. Selena then separated from her husband after several arguments with that brute. She managed to get rid of several future disappointments. The other day Selena decides to go to an extremely unlikely place. She goes to the house of Fernando, who is quietly in his residence working in home office as he always did since the accident. She knocks on the door but he will not answer. Selena then separated from her husband after several arguments with that brute. She managed to get rid of several future disappointments. The other day Selena decides to go to an extremely unlikely place. She goes to the house of Fernando, who is quietly in his residence working in home office as he always did since the accident. She knocks on the door but he will not answer. Selena then decides to enter his residence and go to Fernando. Is then finds with boys going to answer the door and he takes a big scare. He asks Selena what she is doing there. She responds that came to take Fernando to physiotherapy. He says he has no commitment to physiotherapy. She said he will have to do physiotherapy for good or for bad. If not for either, that is for her. He said he has no time to go to the physiotherapist. She then tells Fernando that he won't have to go to the physical therapist, she will go to him. Fernando is extremely confused by what Selena says and asks why she is doing this. She says that she sees a purpose in Fernando's life and that for sure he will achieve it. Fernando, extremely pessimistic, says that he doesn't want to try something that may not work out. He says that he will be totally frustrated if he can't walk for the rest of their lives. At this moment Selena gives Fernando a shock of reality and says that if he never tries he will never know. The physical therapist then comes through the door and faces Fernando. He gets extremely angry when he sees the physical therapist coming through his door and saying that they will already start the physical therapy. He asks how much is the session and Selena answers that everything is already paid for. After the session is over, Selena arrives at the sofa next to Fernando and the physical therapist and asks if there is any chance that Fernando will walk. The physical therapist says that she doesn't like to give false hope to her patients, but says that Fernando has a great chance of walking again. At this moment they all become hopeful, and with a hint of joy, a few more months pass and Fernando proposes a walk to Selena. They are in a park and Fernando says he has a surprise for Selena when they are sitting on the bench. Selena wonders what surprise he has for her and asks her to watch his movements carefully. She is a little confused by what the boy says but keeps watching what he does. He then slowly gets up and Selena is increasingly surprised with each movement that Fernando gives. He really got an essential progress for his physiotherapy and is now reaping the rewards of all his efforts. Selena then is delighted with the motivation and determination of Fernando, and he even says he has another surprise for her. Fernando takes her hands and asks her to date. Really a beautiful end this video had. It makes us reflect that with determination and claw we get everywhere we want. Really, Selena was an angel in the life of Fernando, and he worked hard to repay all the favors that his new girlfriend did for him.